We're here with Chelsea Donovan, Emmy Award-winning longtime NBC reporter, who has recently made a 180 career shift to pickleball. So we're excited to meet you, Chelsea, and hear about your amazing reporter career and what's up ahead with your pickleball career.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for being on. So, what made this shift happen with the career, with shifting the 180 to pickleball? We would love to hear, your background in reporting. Obviously, you have an amazing career in the reporting industry with a lot of awards. So, how did that unfold into shifting into pickleball?
Yeah, so I started reporting right out of college. I had a job the day after I graduated and kind of really stuck with it for about 2 decades and was able to work in markets all across North Carolina and Virginia. And I came back home recently for a 3-year stint here in Raleigh. And prior to that, I guess I kind of got into pickleball like around 2015 before it was really hot. My parents introduced me to it, and I was always playing like recreationally. But over the past 5 years, it kind of got to the point where it was like I was putting pickleball like in the forefront of my mind before I was like going out on stories, sort of being like, all right, I have a live shot at 4, 5, and 6. When's the earliest I can get to the pickleball court? And it kind of became this really important, like mental stress reliever for me in a job that is doom and gloom. I mean, I cover crime, so you're reporting on someone's worst nightmare every day. So pickleball and just the community here and in Virginia and anywhere I go, they're so welcoming. You come onto the court and you don't know a single person and you leave with someone's number or 5 people's number, and it's that camaraderie that's different. And I started thinking that I have accomplished everything and more that I wanted in my career. I've gotten to travel everywhere. I've gotten to meet and interview presidents, cover major storms, trials, national news. And, always in the background of my mind was pickleball. It was just sort of looming there saying like, I've got to get out of this now that I've done everything that I wanted to do and make this switch into the pickleball ecosystem, whatever that looks like. And so literally in January, I just got on LinkedIn and I didn't know anybody in pickleball. And I've been able to get in front of CEOs of big corporations, have introductions with just so many people just by being that like tenacious reporter who's just, feverishly typing on a computer, trying to sell myself. There's been a lot of like no's. We don't think that reporter skills can transcend to pickleball. And then there's been so many yeses, like, wow, you have all of these transferable skills, all of these things that you can do. And so it's been interesting just to be able to kind of enter this blindly and kind of just be a lot lighter and happier in terms of kind of what I'm trying to get into.
So now pickleball is not only what you like to do as a player, but you're entering pickleball at a professional level. So what are you doing now career-wise in pickleball at the professional level?
Yeah, so still doing like a lot of freelance reporting and things of that nature and writing, but I've made a lot of introductions with folks to do some freelance writing in the pickleball realm. And then another one of my random cold calls was with Riley Palmer out of Scottsdale, Arizona. She has curated these just chic, sort of tremendous below deck pickleball vacations where you are on a luxury yacht with just a small amount of people, maybe 30 or so, and kind of like hip hop, kind of bouncing around different islands in Croatia, Italy, or Greece, able to play pickleball right there on the yacht. The viral floating pickleball court that everybody's seen all over social media is a part of this, and able to play on land as well. And so it's been a great introduction into not only the pickleball landscape, but also just, really pinpointing and diving into the recreational pickleball player, not so much the pros, but there's just an incredible amount of recreational pickleball players that are looking for something kind of new and exotic. And it's been really nice to connect with these people and kind of get the word out, and the response obviously has been great as well, to learn about pickleball that is really kind of blossoming across Europe.
That's amazing. Have you had the opportunity to join Riley on one of her vacations?
So I'm going in 3 weeks to Croatia. Sort of a familiarization trip. I've been able to sell a couple trips ahead of that, which has kind of been nice, just by kind of learning the ropes, and it's not a hard sell. But yeah, so Croatia, which is an 8-day thing, you play on the floating pickleball court, you play on land, you're on this $175 million yacht. You just can't beat it. And being able to kind of tour a country that I would have never had on my bucket list before, but is like pretty hot right now. So I'm excited to be able to connect with her and connect with, different coaches and club directors that will be on the trip. And obviously just regular people who are looking to have sort of a different luxury pickleball vacation.
And how does that feel for you? Because obviously coming from pickleball in 2015, that was a very different landscape than what it is now. I started in 2019 and the landscape has completely changed. So I'd love to hear how much of a difference you've seen, because 2015 to now selling luxury pickleball cruises, I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card for the sport.
Never. And honestly, when I was playing pickleball or learning pickleball back in 2015, I was playing with like 60 and 70-year-olds and losing, because they were grooming their game. They were crafting their game. They were retired. They had so much time to play. I mean, even up to 2019, when I was playing in Virginia Beach, there were hardly any young people. And as you mentioned, the landscape now has shifted tremendously, where, the pickleball community in terms of recreational players, I mean, your juniors up to, people in their 30s, 40s. And so it's interesting to see what used to be kind of like an old people sport, or an easier style tennis, has really been magnified into kind of really multi-generational, which it wasn't before. And so to kind of see that transpire through the years is really interesting. And it's kind of now fun to play with people my age instead of people that are my parents' age and better than me. And those people still are better, but it's been cool to see it grow exponentially. And going back to why would I want to get in is because of that, the explosion and the growth. And there's just another avenue of something new and interesting that's popping up, weekly, daily, monthly in the pickleball sort of ecosystem. I think that it has just a lot of longevity right now.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I tell Sarah all the time when we're over at our local courts, we're seeing a lot of high school students and middle school students come out and play, which is amazing for me to see, because in my late 20s, I was like the absolute child on the court. I mean, I was like, the guys were confused as to why I was out playing with them when they're in their like 60s was young on the court at that point. And so it's been amazing to be able to watch and see these younger individuals come into the sport and start to really take it seriously right off the bat. Whereas before, it was an extremely hard sell for me to try to get other individuals who were in their late 20s to come out, because it was branded as an older individual sport.
Right.
That was my introduction to it, was from my mother. And, she was like, "You will love playing this." I was like, "I don't play an old person sport. Thank you for the offer. I'm going to go out for a run." And now a lot of my off-court training is specific to getting better on court, which is a complete 180, and it's hilarious. And she gets a kick out of it to this day. But it is really interesting to see that the demographics switch, but also still maintain that community aspect and still have that multi-generation on the court playing together, which is amazing to see.
Absolutely. I agree. So I live sort of in like college basketball mecca here with like Duke, UNC, NC State, all of these big, they call it Tobacco Road. And all of our courts right now are filled with college students, and these college students too that have started their own pickleball clubs that are highly successful. I mean, you would have never seen that, in a million years 10 years ago. Pickleball was played with the older generation and like on basketball courts inside YMCAs, and so it's amazing to see this, how it's just leveraged. And again, like how all of these older players have they're still there and they're welcoming like these younger generations. And it's really cool to see now that it's accepted to play. Like you said, we learned from our parents or your mom. And it's interesting to see now that like I'm the one going to physical therapy for Achilles tendonitis and a calf muscle sprain from playing pickleball, and so it's cool. It's cool to see the trajectory of the sport. And I think it goes back again, television, and some people aren't going to want to hear this, but it's a dying industry in terms of local news because, you're getting your news here before you ever need to turn on the television, right? And so for me, making that leap into pickleball was sort of solidified by the fact that, there's less viewers, there's less eyes on what we do. And so that is another thing where like, I can kind of see what's going to happen down the road, which sort of solidified a really hard decision for me to give up the only thing that I really knew.
That's amazing, though, that you're able to take that skill set that you honed for 2 decades and transfer it to the fastest growing sport, and then all the businesses that are offshoots from this explosion in pickleball.
Yeah, absolutely. What was that?
And have a personal passion for it. So
yeah. And it's easy to get behind the sport and, just like selling the luxury trips when you're, an avid 4.0 pickleball player, you're playing in tournaments, you're immersed in the community. It makes it like you're just not selling anything, it just makes it like fun. And you're just talking to your friends about, hey, you want to go on this yacht and, have chef catered meals and cruise around and have swim stops in the Adriatic Sea. And everybody's like, yeah. And, play pickleball if you want to. So it's nice to be able to talk about something that's happy and that is like everybody's stress reliever and outlet instead of kind of what I had been doing for so long.
That's amazing.
I think it's nice too that the sport it's able to cater to so many different demographics. So you can sell a luxury cruise for individuals to go to play pickleball, but it doesn't take away from the parks and the local rec play. Because, growing up, I played so many sports, but I never played tennis just because of the barrier to entry to it. And so that's something that I love about the sport, and I never want to see it go away. And we've had multiple conversations with individuals about, as long as that park system is full of people, then the sport continues to grow. And so it's great to see that, you're able to cater to a different demographic while still being at the park and playing and helping to grow the sport for that next generation.
I agree. And I think that's one thing that the pickleball sort of industry is doing well. Obviously, you've got like the pros and then you have the recreational pickleball field, and that pro bucket is really, really small, and the recreational market is so big and growing and growing and growing. And so there's just so much opportunity to be able to connect with recreational players that are really dominating the market, like you said. And I love what you said about tennis. I remember I used to play tennis as a kid, and it really kind of stereotypically became or is a little bit of an elitist sport, right? You had to have the money to be able to go in to enter these tournaments. It was sort of like a high dollar thing. And I think what's so cool about pickleball is it's like you could show up, you have no paddle, someone gives you one of your old ones, and you're off and running. And I think that again speaks to like the camaraderie. I always use the example of basketball. Like if I went to a basketball court right now, I don't know that people would be as welcoming as if I showed up on a pickleball court, told them that I wanted to learn, and then you leave with 5 people's numbers in your phone. There's something so unique about the intimacy of pickleball that really just lends itself to where you just feel like you've just met fast friends and encouraging, like when I was learning, it's like, well, let me teach you this, or let me show you this, or come to this beginners league. It's nice to be able to have that welcoming feeling and leave a court with that feeling.
When I think from my perspective as well, what's been the most interesting aspect is, never like getting on the court in 2019 and playing with individuals in their 60s at the youngest and being like the absolute child on the court. And now, doing the podcast and then coaching Sarah and going to professional tournaments, the pros themselves are just as welcoming as the local rec players are. And that's been an amazing aspect for both of us where we're going, we've been to 2 pro events so far, and we've had amazing interviews with pros who see the value in not just the value, but showcase that rec play is where the sport grows. We had an amazing interview with Lee Whitwell, who, she very adamantly preaches that the rec play is where the sport grows or dies.
Yeah, even though she is a top pro, she knows that the rec play is the biggest segment of the pickleball population and recognizes that the spotlight can't leave the rec play.
Yeah, it's just dominating. And I love what you said, John, about the pros just being almost just incredibly approachable. We just had the PPA in here in Cary, and you're just walking along, and Ben Johns is just going to fill up his water bottle, or the Johnsons are just walking along signing autographs. There's no other sport in a pro realm that you can interface with them so easily and just walk up to them like them, and it's interesting to be able to have that, again, that approachability that you just don't see in any other pro sport, because they're glorified, they're surrounded by bodyguards, they're cordoned off. And so I think that's just another cool thing about pickleball is the pros recognize, like, I'm just your average Joe. I'm just out here playing pickleball and I'm a friend to you. Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, and the cool thing too, the only other time that I've ever been able to witness this and experience this was growing up, going to like monster truck events and getting to meet the drivers and having all them autograph different T-shirts and posters and all this as a kid. And I remember specifically having my father having a conversation with one of the top drivers at the time, and he was letting him know, like, as fans, we really appreciate the fact that you are so down to earth and you sit here and you talk to us and you're mingling with the crowd. And his response was, we all understand that without the fans, it doesn't exist. And that's why we give back the way that we do, because if it's not for you, we don't get to drive a truck for a living. And so it's been amazing to see that it feels like pickleball has taken on that similar aspect to it. And I've always equated pickleball I've always called it punk rock tennis, or like the island of misfit toys, because so many people come from so many varied backgrounds that it's really become a welcoming sport. And it doesn't have that elitist mentality because people came from other sports and they understood, from my perspective, they've understood how that can be detrimental to sports because they've watched it unfold, or they were born into being in a sport that felt unattainable to some people. And so I really think that has helped to keep it at a grassroots effort and really keep that camaraderie, like you said, across a spectrum of individuals.
Absolutely. At my local park here, you can be playing with like an ear, nose, and throat surgeon one day, a recovering alcoholic that found pickleball. We have a young kid like in 8th grade who lives near the projects, and he walks over and someone loans him a paddle, and he's learned to play that way. I mean, it's a sport that, doesn't discriminate on any, creed, religion, race, monetary value, anything like that, which again is just one of those cool things about pickleball, is that you have no idea who you're playing with in open play one day, who that partner is going to be, which is, it's just so cool.
Yeah, we just had lessons the other night and had a 10-year-old granddaughter with her 80-year-old grandfather taking lessons, which was amazing to see, that you have that these multi-generations getting on the court together, getting to spend time together and have an opportunity that really wouldn't present itself in any other sport.
Yeah, it was great to see them together, and they were learning the skills that they can then use and have a great summer together. Also, in that same class, we had a family of 4 with a mother, a father, a teenage son, and a 10-year-old son. And they're out there. There are not too many activities where the 4 of them can get together and be on the same playing field, so to speak. Just enjoying this activity.
Absolutely agree with you guys.
So now, again, coming from the fact that you're, you have eyes on multiple levels of the industry, how, in your opinion, do we keep pickleball the way that it is while continuing to grow the sport? Because that's something that I'm adamant about, is making sure that it stays like a grassroots effort, and people are very, it's obtainable, but also that the sport continues to grow and have a good trajectory.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think you guys are kind of doing that right now with this sort of medium podcast where everyday people can, listen to it, watch it, what have you. I met a lady that started the Recreational Players Pickleball Association that's got like tens of thousands of members. And it's cool, just to be able to sign on there and see like, hey, what people are talking about, or it's sort of like this town hall forum where you can exchange ideas and talk about things, learn new things. But yeah, I think like, the industry is going towards this recreational field mainly just because that's where they all are at, right? The ratio of people from pros to rec is so high. And I think clubs are doing such a great job of being able to capitalize on pickleball players with so many different revenue streams, even junior camps and lessons and things like that to get the whole family involved. It's also cool to see that now, like pickleball is, at health fairs and like festivals where they set up pop-up courts and things like that. And I think that just showcases how accessible the sport is. And I think those efforts, they're continuing and they're exploding, which I think is just a part of, again, keeping that sport accessible to all. It's cool to watch from the sidelines, really, to kind of see something new every day on LinkedIn. I pop on and it's like some new avenue or new pop-up court or, all of these new things that are being, integrated into just regular everyday corporate events, stuff like that. It's really cool to watch it all.
Now, do you see the landscape changing at all now that like junior players are coming in at a much younger age, and maybe this becomes one of their main sports right off the bat? How do you see that changing the landscape as we go out a decade or 2 decades?
Yeah, I think that we're teaching them young and they're into it. We just had junior nationals here in Raleigh earlier this year. And so you see these young, talented players under the age of 10, just going out there and, busting their butt and learning. Yeah, I think obviously you're catching them at a young age. They're learning at a young age, and it's something that you see sticking with them. It's just like pickleball is now in colleges. Who would have thought that? Mm-hmm. They're really starting to get the word out about something different that people can play, especially if you're coming out of tennis. It's a nice progression there, easily transferable. But yeah, I think that each day I'm online and I see like a new college rec league or a new college that's picked up pickleball. I think sort of the sky's the limit on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, now we just need more courts.
Yeah. There's a lot of empty tennis courts that probably could be converted in most metropolitan areas or even small towns.
Yeah, well, I think that every time, I mean, our local courts have 6 currently, and they could have built 12 and had them just as full. So, I mean, anytime that people are
Absolutely.
building courts, I hope they just double them.
It's like those memes that you see where it says like tennis court on July 1st and it's empty, and then it's like tennis court on December 1st and it's still empty. You know, it's just still sitting there ready to be converted. I think, you know, a lot of tennis players kind of gawk or squabble at pickleball, but there's definitely enough to go around, right? I mean, tennis still has its place. It's still highly successful. I watched Roland Garros early this morning. So there's still so many eyes on it. And I think it's just a space that can be shared between the two sports.
Yeah, I definitely, I don't understand some of the animosity between pickleball and tennis. They're completely different sports. It's not even, I enjoy both. And I mean, it would be, you know, I enjoy any sport. And I think that any individual who has an athletic background enjoys multiple sports. So, you know, I don't see as, you know, I prefer playing pickleball, but it's not me saying that one's better than the other. I enjoy the camaraderie, and I have a better network of people to play pickleball with who I've become actual genuine friends with. So I would rather go spend time with them on that court than the tennis court. But definitely, you know, there's definitely a space for, you know, a slew of racket sports. You see paddle coming in now, and a lot of pickleball facilities bringing paddle or padel into those facilities to have a mixture.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful. And it's an amazing avenue to see people picking up different paddles and rackets and playing all these different sports. It's like a hybrid athlete for paddle and racket sports.
Yeah, you don't have to pick.
Yeah, you don't. I went to a club in Charlotte over the weekend that converted, 4 pickleball courts to padel inside, and they were booked. You know, and then the other side of the place is pickleball. I had never really heard of the sport. I mean, obviously, I know it's very robust in Europe, but it is cool to see this club in Charlotte is really ahead of the trend, going ahead and putting that in there, forming, Charlotte Padel Club, and people are taking it off because they're like, what is that? I want to know about it. And then you see people playing and you're like, that's cool. They're hitting it off the wall. And it's, so there's space right now for everything, I think.
Yeah. And I've always talked to Sarah about how important I feel that being a hybrid athlete is, like, across the board, not just for racket or a paddle sport. I think, if you enjoy being an athlete, then go out and enjoy multiple sports. I'm not saying that you have to do them at the highest level, but if you want to go run a marathon and be a pickleball player, and we're out in weighted vests going on like 10-mile rucks through the mountains and hiking and doing, I want to get into ultra running, and there's space for all these different avenues. And I think that people are, when I was growing up, you kind of had like your main sports. And I think that's great. And, it definitely is beneficial. But man, I've loved getting to dip my toes into so many different athletic backgrounds, and from weightlifting to cycling to running. And it's really formed this hybridized mindset for me as far as athletics go. So I hope that, it continues on in that fashion with bringing padel and pickleball in, and seeing these larger facilities pop up with different aspects that you can go in and enjoy and stay healthy.
And like you said, at any level, you don't have to try and turn pro at these. It's just a matter of getting out, being active, immersing yourself in the different athletic communities, and just having that diversity of options.
Yeah, enhancing your skill set, right? Just like if you were an employee at a company and you're learning some new trade or something like that, you're having all of these, like you become a sort of a Swiss Army knife in racket sports, with padel, pickleball, and tennis all right there. Maybe a little ping pong. I like playing that too. But yeah, it's kind of nice to just have the options, It's kind of cool.
Absolutely. And each one can make you better at the others, because it's more of a full body workout when you're exploring pickleball, and then maybe hiking with a weighted vest. And trying another sport or another physical activity. It can make you better
Absolutely.
at others.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, other than the luxury cruises, is there any other big pickleball events or goals that you have? Obviously, you're very goal oriented with the career that you are, that you've maxed out to, what you wanted to get out of it. So, is there any big things on your bucket list for pickleball that you're really going after?
I would love to be able to moderate events, whether it be, I've got some things lined up for PickleCon, but, there's always these, major, events and conferences and things like that. Racket X being one where, I can utilize my public speaking skills, and kind of be a moderator in that field, but also, like, what cool thing I would love to do is kind of a dream of mine is like be a correspondent for Pickleball TV, just being able to utilize those same reporting skills as a correspondent. Anything like that, I think is definitely something that I'm trying to get in front of people to see, if I can get out there for a little bit and kind of work on some of these tournaments. But I think, it's just one of those easy transferable skills, and be able to report on something that you're really, really passionate about is just sort of icing on the cake.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be an amazing fit with your passion, your background, and your knowledge of pickleball, but the reporting skills as well. That sounds like a perfect fit.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for jumping on and doing an episode with us. We really enjoyed talking to you, and we wish you nothing but success with pickleball. You have an amazing story, and we're excited that we're able to showcase it and maybe inspire some others to decide to do a 180 in their life.
Yeah, absolutely. You just go for it. You got to just get out there and hope for the best, and it'll work out.
Yeah. And enjoy Croatia, and we hope to hear great things afterwards. We'd love to hear how that goes, and
Absolutely.
maybe some others will go on the next one because they hear about your trip.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Chelsea.